This sign means A. No U-turn. B. No turning. C. No left turn. D. No right turn. A. No U-turn. This sign prohibits U-turns. Do not make a U-turn where this sign is posted. Your brake lights tell other drivers that you A. Are making a turn. B. Have your emergency brake on. C. Are changing lanes. D. Are slowing down or stopping. You experience an incident at work that has left you feeling angry. When you get to your car, you should A. Play the radio loudly so you won't think about it. B. Drive fast on the interstate to let off steam. C. Take a few minutes to cool off before you begin your drive home. D. Stop at your favorite bar and have a few drinks before driving home. C. Take a few minutes to cool off before you begin your drive home. Persons who are upset, angry, or otherwise distracted by their emotions should take time to cool off before driving a car. Taking out frustrations or anger while driving is exercising very poor judgment and is very dangerous to both the driver and others on the road. To reduce the effects of headlight glare at night, you should look A. Straight ahead. B. Over your shoulder. C. At the center of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. If oncoming drivers do not dim their headlights for you, keep your eyes on the right side of the road ahead. Do not look directly at the oncoming headlights because the glare may blind you for several seconds.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
A speed restriction sign. A. May be ignored in rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. B. Has a triangular shape. C. Is blue with black lettering. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. Curve and turn warning signs often have attached advisory speed signs that show a recommended driving speed for drivers in the curves and turns. Although a driver may feel comfortable driving at a higher speed in fair weather, they should never do so under rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. To help relieve fatigue on a long trip, it is a good idea to A. Stop and rest every 2 hours. B. Do arm exercises every hour. C. Drive with one eye open at a time. D. Change feet on the gas pedal. A. Stop and rest every 2 hours. To avoid becoming fatigued while taking a long trip, stop every 2 hours for a short break. If you become drowsy, pull off the road and park in a safe place to take a nap, or find a room to stay for the night. Unless otherwise posted, the minimum speed limit on freeways is A. 45 miles per hour. B. 55 miles per hour. C. 70 miles per hour. D. 85 miles per hour. B. 55 miles per hour. Unless otherwise posted, the minimum speed limit on freeways is 55 miles per hour. If a different speed limit is posted, you should follow that speed limit. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. B. May no longer turn and must proceed straight. C. Still have the right of way to turn. D. no longer have to turn in the direction that the arrow indicated. A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you may still turn in the direction that the arrow was pointing, but you must first yield to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. It is important to be alert to motorcycles because A. They are more difficult to see than cars. B. They rarely use their headlights. C. Motorcyclists are less skilled drivers than other motorists. D. All of the above. A. They are more difficult to see than cars. Motorcycles are smaller and harder to see than cars. Because of their size, they are easily hidden in a car's blind spot. It may be difficult to judge your distance to a motorcycle and difficult to tell how fast a motorcycle is moving, so always be alert and extra cautious when near a motorcyclist. Driving while being distracted by any activity. A. Is never dangerous. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. C. Usually causes the driver to drive faster. D. Is only dangerous for young drivers. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. Distractions cause drivers to react more slowly to traffic and hazards on the roadway. Distracted driving is never safe. This sign is used to warn drivers about A. Upcoming intersections. B. Road construction. C. An upcoming curve in the road. D. Changes in traffic lanes. C. An upcoming curve in the road. This sign indicates that the road ahead curves to the right. You are involved in an accident and your vehicle is blocking traffic. You should A. Move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. B. Not move your vehicle under any circumstances. C. Wait until the police arrive before moving your vehicle. D. None of the above. A. Move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. After a minor collision, move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. Do not leave the scene of an accident without identifying yourself and rendering assistance. You must stop for a school bus. A. That is parked on the shoulder of the road with no one in it. B. When it approaches you, even if its lights are not flashing. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. D. Whenever the driver waves at you. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. You must stop when approaching a school bus that is displaying flashing red lights while stopped to pick up or drop off children. On a two-lane road, traffic moving in both directions must stop and remain stopped as long as the red lights near the top of the bus are flashing and/or the stop arm on the left side of the bus is extended. Is it legal cross a double solid yellow centerline to pass? A. Yes. B. No. C. If there is no oncoming traffic. D. If the vehicle ahead of you is driving under the speed limit. B. No. Two solid yellow lines down the center of a two-way road mean that neither lane of traffic may cross the lines, unless they are turning off of the roadway. A driver can cross double yellow lines when turning into or out of a driveway or entrance to a business. No passing is allowed over a solid yellow line. A steady green light at an intersection means that you A. Must slow down and prepare to stop. B. Must stop and check for oncoming traffic before proceeding. C. May drive through the intersection if the road is clear. D. May not turn right. C. May drive through the intersection if the road is clear. A steady green light means you may drive through the intersection if the road is clear. You may also turn right or left on a steady green light unless a sign prohibits the turn. When turning, you must yield to other vehicles and pedestrians within the intersection. When you are driving on the freeway and see that a vehicle will be entering your lane from an entrance ramp, you should A. Speed up to pass them. B. Honk your horn so they know you are there. C. Change lanes or slow down to allow them room. D. Ignore them because you have the right of way. C. Change lanes or slow down to allow them room. Make room for vehicles entering the freeway. Whenever possible, change lanes to allow those entering traffic to do so smoothly and safely. If you cannot change lanes, adjust your speed. How can you help prevent rear-end collisions? A. Avoid sudden stops. B. Before stopping, check your mirrors and blind spots for traffic. C. Release the gas pedal and let your vehicle slow before applying the brakes. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Stopping suddenly can make it difficult for drivers behind you to avoid a rear-end collision. When stopping, release the accelerator to allow your vehicle to slow. Press the brake pedal by applying steady pressure, activating your brake lights and causing the vehicle to stop smoothly. If you stop at a railroad crossing with more than one track. A. Wait to proceed until you have a clear view of all tracks. B. Stop on the first railroad track and watch for another train. C. Go through as soon as the train passes. D. Go through when one of the tracks is free. A. Wait to proceed until you have a clear view of all tracks. If you are stopped at a railroad crossing with more than one track, do not start moving as soon as a train passes. Wait until you have a clear view down all tracks before you start across. Even where there is only one track, do not start across immediately after a train passes. Check again for another train that may be approaching. When you hear a fire engine siren behind you, you must A. Slow down until it passes you. B. Drive with your flashers on. C. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. D. Speed up and take the nearest exit. C. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. When you hear the siren of an emergency vehicle, you must pull over to the curb or side of the road and stop. When approaching a traffic signal displaying a steady green arrow, drivers A. Should merge into a lane in the direction of the arrow. B. Should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. C. May turn in the direction of the arrow after yielding to traffic and pedestrians already in the intersection. D. May drive straight through the intersection. C. May turn in the direction of the arrow after yielding to traffic and pedestrians already in the intersection. A green arrow displayed on a traffic signal tells drivers that they may turn in the direction of the arrow. You must be in the proper lane for such a turn. Yield the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians already in the intersection. This road sign means A. No passing zone. B. Winding road. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Low-ground railroad crossing. D. Low-ground railroad crossing. This sign indicates a low-ground railroad crossing. Where this sign is present, railroad tracks cross the road at a steep slope and the bottom of low vehicles may drag or get caught on the tracks. This sign shows one type of A. Right turn. B. Intersection. C. Lane change. D. Road curve. B. Intersection. This sign indicates that AT intersection is ahead. You must stop at an intersection when you see A. Flashing red light. B. Steady yellow light. C. Yellow arrow. D. Flashing yellow light. A. Flashing red light. A flashing red traffic signal has the same meaning as a stop sign. At an intersection with a flashing red light, you must come to a complete stop, look both ways, and proceed only after the intersection is clear. It is best to keep a space cushion. A. Only in back of your vehicle. B. Only on the left and right sides of your vehicle. C. Only in front of the vehicle. D. On all sides of the vehicle. D. On all sides of the vehicle. To ensure that you will have time to react to hazards on the roadway, it is best to keep a cushion of space on all sides of your vehicle. Do not crowd vehicles to your left and right sides. You may drive across a dashed white line. A. At any time. B. Only during daylight hours. C. When it is safe to change lanes. D. Only when passing a motorcycle. C. When it is safe to change lanes. Traffic lanes moving in the same direction are separated by broken white lines. You may cross over dashed lines to pass, if it is safe to do so. This road sign means A. Intersection ahead. B. Steep grade ahead. C. Winding road. D. Merging traffic. B. Steep grade ahead. This sign indicates that a steep downhill grade is ahead. This sign means A. 4-lane traffic ahead. B. Divided highway ahead. C. 2-way traffic ahead. D. Intersection ahead. C. 2-way traffic ahead. This sign warns of 2-way traffic ahead. What are the colors of warning signs indicating upcoming hazards? A. Black letters or symbols on a white background. B. Black letters or symbols on a yellow background. C. White letters or symbols on a blue background. D. White letters or symbols on a green background. B. Black letters or symbols on a yellow background. Warning signs that indicate approaching hazards are usually yellow with black lettering or symbols. Warning signs in work zones are orange with black lettering or symbols. What should you do when you see this sign? A. Look for a train station ahead. B. Signal before going any further. C. Slow down and yield for trains. D. Stop. C. Slow down and yield for trains. This sign indicates that there is a railroad crossing on the road ahead. You should always slow down when approaching a railroad crossing. Trains cannot yield to cars, so you must let them pass before crossing the tracks. You are driving when your power steering stops working. You should A. Honk your horn and turn off the ignition. B. Turn on your hazard lights and brace yourself. C. Work hard to steer, reduce your speed, drive to a safe area, and stop. D. Slam on your brakes. C. Work hard to steer, reduce your speed, drive to a safe area, and stop. If your power steering stops working, additional effort will be required to maintain steering control. Reduce your speed and pull off the roadway to stop in a safe area. This sign means A. Trucks only. B. Trucks are entering the highway. C. Upcoming hill. D. Trucks have the right of way. C. Upcoming hill. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that drivers are approaching a steep hill and should prepare to adjust their speeds to continue to drive safely. At dusk or on overcast days, you should A. Drive using your four-way flashers. B. Drive using your parking lights. C. Not turn on any vehicle lights. D. Turn on your headlights. D. Turn on your headlights. At dusk or on overcast days, you must turn on your headlights. Dim your lights to their low beam setting when within 1,000 feet of an approaching vehicle and when within 500 feet of a vehicle that you are following. When driving in poor weather, always use your low beams. When may you proceed through an intersection that has a stop sign but no stop line or crosswalk? A. After slowing down to verify that there is no cross traffic. B. After coming to a complete stop and verifying that it is safe to proceed. C. After you have stopped at least 20 feet prior to the intersection. D. After slowing down to a speed of 10 miles per hour. B. After coming to a complete stop and verifying that it is safe to proceed. Stop before the stop line or crosswalk at any intersection that is controlled by a stop sign. If there is a stop sign but no stop line or crosswalk, stop before entering the intersection and proceed when it is safe to do so. A flashing yellow light at an intersection means that you should A. Slow down and proceed with care. B. Continue normally through the intersection. C. Stop and proceed when a green light appears. D. Stop and proceed when the way is clear. A. Slow down and proceed with care. A flashing yellow light at an intersection means caution. If you approach such a light, slow down, look, and proceed with care. The most effective safety restraints in a traffic crash are A. Only a lap and shoulder belt. B. Only an airbag. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. D. No safety restraints. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. Safety belts can double your chance of surviving a crash and more than double your chance of avoiding serious injury. Airbags, when used properly with safety belts, provide additional protection in a front-end crash. You should wear both shoulder and lap belts. When changing lanes you should not A. Check your side and rear view mirrors. B. Give a turn signal to signal your intentions. C. Check for other drivers who may be moving into the same lane as you. D. Use your cell phone to contact the police to determine if the road ahead is clear. D. Use your cell phone to contact the police to determine if the road ahead is clear. Before changing lanes, check your side and rear view mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Use your turn signal to let other drivers know you plan to change lanes. Check for other drivers who also may be moving into the same lane. If traffic signals at an intersection are not functioning due to a power outage, A. Park your vehicle as far off the road as possible and wait for power to be restored. B. Use hand signals to indicate your intentions to other drivers. C. Turn on your hazard lights and proceed through the intersection without stopping. D. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. D. Treat the intersection as a four-way stop. If a traffic light at an intersection is not functioning due to a power outage, yield to other drivers in the same manner as you would when approaching a four-way stop. When it is your turn, proceed through the intersection with caution. You notice that the driver in the vehicle ahead of you is driving with one hand and talking to a passenger. You should A. Give the vehicle extra space. B. Know that the driver in the vehicle ahead is reducing their safety margin by being an inattentive driver. C. Avoid following the driver's example. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not become distracted by looking at passengers, attempting to find something in your vehicle, looking at reading material, sightseeing, or daydreaming while driving. If a driver near you seems distracted, allow them extra space because the risk of an accident is increased by their inattentiveness. You should not pass another driver? A. When next to a solid yellow line. B. On a hill or curve in the road. C. If you are nearing oncoming traffic. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Drivers should not pass when it may endanger themselves or other drivers. They should not pass in no passing zones, in areas where visibility is limited, or when it may interfere with oncoming traffic. Traffic signals sometimes display arrows to control turns from specific lanes. A solid red arrow, A, is never used as a traffic signal. B, has the same meaning as a circular red traffic light. C, means that drivers may turn in the direction indicated by the arrow. D, means that the traffic the arrow is pointing toward must stop. B, has the same meaning as a circular red traffic light. A solid red arrow in a traffic signal means the same thing as a circular red traffic light. When an arrow is red, traffic in the indicated lane must stop and may not turn in the direction that the arrow is pointing. This sign means A left curve is ahead. B, a series of curves is ahead. C, an S curve is ahead. D, the road will be slippery when wet. D, the road will be slippery when wet. This sign warns that especially slippery conditions exist when the road is wet. If your car starts to skid, turn your steering wheel. A, to keep the front wheels straight. B, in the direction you want the vehicle to go. C, in the opposite direction of the skid. D, in any direction. It doesn't matter. B, in the direction you want the vehicle to go. If your vehicle goes into a skid, you should turn the steering wheel in the direction you want the vehicle to go. As soon as the vehicle begins to straighten out, turn the steering wheel back the other way. When is it illegal to drive below the speed limit? A, when driving slowly disrupts the normal flow of traffic. B. When in heavy traffic in a construction zone. C. Only when driving in rural areas. D. When driving under adverse weather conditions. A. When driving slowly disrupts the normal flow of traffic. It is illegal to drive so slowly that you disrupt the normal flow of traffic. You may receive a citation for driving too slowly. A leaking exhaust system can A. Cause excessive oil use. B. Require your vehicle to have a tune-up sooner than normal. C. Make you drowsy while driving. D. Set grass fires on country roads. C. Make you drowsy while driving. The exhaust system helps remove toxic gases, reduce the noise, and cool the hot gases coming from a running engine. Fumes from a leaky exhaust system can cause death in a very short time. They can also make you drowsy while driving. When passing another vehicle on a road with two lanes traveling in opposite directions, you should A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. B. Remain in the left lane if you intend to turn left. C. Return to the right side of the roadway immediately. D. Drive in either lane. A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. When passing another vehicle on a two-lane roadway, you must return to the right side of the roadway when there is enough room between you and the vehicle you have passed. This sign means A. Don't drink if you are going to drive. B. Slippery when wet. C. Road curves ahead. D. You are approaching a hill. B. Slippery when wet. This sign warns that the road is slippery when wet. When driving on roads that may be slippery. A. Always drive at the maximum speed limit. B. Use cruise control to maintain a steady speed. C. Reduce your following distance. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. You should avoid making any sudden changes in speed or direction when driving on a slippery surface. Reduce your speed on slippery roads and do not use cruise control. If your vehicle begins to skid, you should A. Overcorrect. B. Turn your steering wheel into traffic. C. Turn your steering wheel in the direction you want to go. D. Release the steering wheel. C. Turn your steering wheel in the direction you want to go. If your vehicle begins to skid, remain calm. Steer in the direction that you want to go and try not to overcorrect. When approaching a work zone with a 45 miles per hour where workers present sign, drivers should A. Slow down immediately. B. Drive at a safe speed for conditions, watch for construction workers, and slow down to 45 miles per hour or lower where workers are present. C. Merge to the right lane. D. All of the above. A work zone. A. May be moving or stationary. B. Is marked with black and white signs. C. Does not require a driver to slow down and pay extra attention. D. All of the above. A. May be moving or stationary. Work zones are often stationary, but they may also be present in the form of moving vehicles striping lines, mowing, or removing snow. Work zones are marked by orange signs with black lettering or symbols. Slow down and pay extra attention when approaching or driving through a work zone.